Welcome to this week's episode of AP Taylor Swift. Today's theme is holiday songs. Spoiler alert up front, we are not covering the actual holiday album. That'll be a different some way that we will engage with that music that we have not decided yet, but it'll be great. So tune in whenever we do that. So you may be thinking, what did we pick if we did not do that? And we will answer that question very shortly here. But first, because we said holiday music specifically, a question that I want us to all very quickly answer just to set the stage is, how do each of us define the holiday season? What are the beginning and bookmarks for the holiday season for you guys?
You have an answer?
I can go
Please.
first. So my holidays start a little earlier than our holidays because I have Indian holidays in the fall that lead into like Thanksgiving. So Diwali is coming up next week. And so I've been in a proper holiday mood for like a few weeks now because there's a bunch of holidays that lead up to it. But then I definitely think there's something about like the smell in the air. You feel that first bit of winter, you start getting like real senioritis at work. And then because I grew up, I was born in Canada and grew up in the United States, like we just did all the holidays that they celebrate in the public school systems. So we definitely would like put up our tree, like we do a big thing for Thanksgiving, and you just start getting into this like family mode.
You were born in Canada?
I was, yes.
So do you do Canadian Thanksgiving too?
No.
Okay.
I don't do Canadian Thanksgiving, partially because I didn't stay in their school system long enough maybe to like do that. Their Canadian Thanksgiving typically overlap with our Indigenous Peoples Day now. So it's like all kind of the same time of year. But yeah, I associate it with a lot of food, good smells, lack of wanting to do any kind of work, and just
when does it end for you? When is the like, okay, the holiday season has come to an end?
Like on January 2nd. The second New Year's is over, but I do make it through New Year's Day.
So I think of the holiday season as like Thanksgiving through New Year's. Those are not my holidays. Like I'm Jewish. Like when I think about the holidays with family, I think about Rosh Hashanah, which is in September, and Passover, which is in like March, April. But I still think of the holidays, quote unquote, as Thanksgiving through January because it's the holiday season. It's the commercial side of winter and festivities and Christmas markets and Monty, like the Christmas winter in the air and the coats and I love the Christmas music in moderation. Like Christmas music to me, holiday, like that is like the 2 weeks leading up to Christmas and that's it. Otherwise it's just
like,
too much.
I went to Target today and like the day after Halloween, like it has switched.
Oh,
everything is glittery.
My friend's spending today putting up her Christmas tree and I was like, that's blasphemous, but you do you. But yeah, so I think even though that's not like I spend Christmas the stereotypical Jewish way of either ordering in or making Chinese food and like sitting on my pajamas. It does, like I think of the holiday season as Thanksgiving through New Year's. Because that's when we had off and that's when all the fun festivities happened. But that's not my holidays.
Mine, I think I realized I've started to think of it starting at Halloween. I don't really decorate for Halloween, but it's like, it's an event. It is still something that happens that is like fun and like I hand out candy and all of that stuff. And then as soon as it's over, I feel like I'm in the holiday season, which like we have, like a Friendsgiving planned. We're figuring out Thanksgiving with multiple sides of the family. And then, yes, like I do celebrate Christmas, and then we have New Year's and New Year's Day. I think that's mostly where it ends for me. There are some people at my church who do celebrate Epiphany, which is a more like Catholic
Taylor
tradition.
Swift song?
And a Taylor Swift song. Maybe I'll celebrate it this year for that, which is like January 15th or something, I think.
Okay.
Oh gosh, I do have friends from my church who listen to this. I'm so sorry, guys. I don't remember those details, but I know it's a thing that some people celebrate and I don't. But I think it's supposed to be like when Jesus went back to heaven or something. I don't know. Oh gosh, there is no excommunication in Presbyterianism, but if there is, I feel like I'm on the chopping block one of these days. So for me, it starts. I actually think I might decorate for Christmas earlier than normal this year, just because it's already felt like kind of a dark winter.
It's been cold already.
It is, and so I kind of just want like some of the joy of like the decorations and stuff. So it might happen earlier this year, but not like right now. But if it is the thing that's going to bring me joy in the cold winter, I'm more than willing to decorate.
The decorations actually reminded me, because maybe the reason that I start counting like with Diwali onwards is because Diwali is a festival of lights.
Very
and
festive.
You put light. And it ends up happening kind of around the same time of year, like end of October, early November. And sometimes we would put up lights like even around Halloween time, as early as Halloween. And then you just
like keep them up.
And then you just leave it on because it's like so close to holidays anyway. So I wonder if that's like a through line that like ties it.
I think if I started celebrating the holidays when the Jewish holidays happen, the whole fall would be a wash.
The whole fall should be a wash. No,
it should be, but it also should be like 3 months longer because there's so much that I want to do, and it's all happening at once.
Yeah, I feel like New Year's Day hits, and then after that, I'm like, oh, I have nothing to do for like 3 months, and what am I gonna do now?
That's a really good segue to our first song. I will be covering New Year's Day, which now that we just discussed, according to some of our definitions, it just makes the cut for being a holiday song.
Yeah, totally.
I may argue that I picked a song that is about the end of the holidays and the day after. But New Year's Day came out on the album Reputation 2017. This is track 15, the last track on Reputation, and it was written by Taylor Swift and Jack Antonoff. And yet technically this is a song about what happens after the holiday, because I think the actual holiday is considered New Year's Eve. That's what we all celebrate. So my first question that I'm trying to grapple with is this a holiday song, or does it just reference a holiday? And there's definite reference to a holiday, right? Like the first, I was going to call it stanza, as Monsi does, but it's a verse. Or both. It's both. Really paints this beautiful picture of the day after a holiday. There's glitter on the floor after the party, girls carrying their shoes down in the lobby, candle wax and Polaroids on the hardwood floor, you and me from the night before. So just this beautiful picture of a celebration, but the celebration's already happened. So is this a holiday song?
Well, I was thinking about my definition that I just said a few minutes ago of a holiday, and the whole like senioritis feeling of just lounging around with family or friends and not doing anything. By that definition, I think it totally qualifies. Does anybody get anything done on New Year's Day? Like,
no,
not I.
No. I think I once in high school, or no, middle school, threw a New Year's Day like party brunch thing. Although it might have been on January 2nd, not January 1st. January 1st is a wash. So that's also
the only. It's the actual holiday. Like I know people who don't get New Year's Eve off, but they get New Year's Day off because the celebration starts at like midnight into New Year's Day.
Okay, so here's my hot take. I hate New Year's Eve because for like many reasons, and we can go into like the challenge. I hate New Year's Eve. It's a holiday that you're supposed to have fun. Like there's high expectations for your experience on this day, and it never lives up to that expectation. So that's number one. I also have that same feeling about like July 4th. I'm like, this is just no. Number two, I don't ever want to stay up until or past midnight. Like, I want to go to bed. So it's really not my holiday. When I lived in San Francisco, I celebrated East Coast New Year's. I was like, great, 9 o'clock, the ball dropped in New York. I'm going to bed. Bye. Now that I'm back in New York, I'm like, maybe I should celebrate London New Year's. It's 5 hours ahead.
I hate San Francisco New Year's because it's actually so the most anticlimactic thing on the planet. It's so boring. I think one thing about holidays is also through all of our songs today, I think we're gonna explore the different meanings.
Spoiler alert! Not a happy holidays on this podcast.
Yeah, like I think we're gonna enjoy talking through how Taylor interprets holiday, which is in all of her different music. But one thing that I think is interesting is like if you focus on the different aspects, one aspect is really usually around traditions. Like what are those holiday traditions? And I think in New Year's Day, she actually does talk through some of those, like the fact that you've got glitter on the floor.
Correct. There's a party.
yeah, there's a party. The tree up till January, which is controversial. We'll talk about it, I guess.
That's in Lover. That's not in this song.
It's not in New Year's Day? Oh, sorry.
No,
Oh yeah,
that's
you're
in
right. It's in
Lover.
Lover. Yeah.
Sorry. That was
another option that we could have picked. We could have picked Lover because they talk about.
No, but actually, like the idea that there are these traditions that kind of make holidays what they are, I think is interesting because by that definition, it really does like it kind of depends person to person, but most people have these rituals for all of these holidays, and New Year's Day is not really different. And I mean, you're saying that you have always felt like it was kind of a fussy party. You don't really want to stay up that late. Like in my family, it was always a massive party. Like even when we were children, my parents were crazy party animals. So kids were invited till midnight to stay up, and we like threw down. And so, yes, as an adult, sometimes it can be anticlimactic when you can't live up to that level of hype. But there is this feeling or expectation or excitement there of like, we should be doing something to like ring in the new year.
Interesting. I don't have that expectation. I'm like, I'm going to bed.
I'm like,
but
we gotta watch the ball drop, like even if it's on mute, even if it's 3 hours too early now.
I think I actually might celebrate. I might celebrate New Year's Day more. It doesn't happen every year, but a lot of times Chris and I will pick something like the TV show Firefly he had never seen. And there was one year on New Year's Day, we just sat and we watched all like 12 episodes or something, or we watched like all 3 Lord of the Rings movies. It's just like a lazy day for the two of us to just watch something. And I think that's been more consistent than any party on New Year's Eve.
So I love that you bring this up because that is exactly what this song is about. It's about the day after the fuss and the party and the expectation. It's about, I want the after, the mundane, the ordinary. I want someone to sit, I want you, not just someone, you, to sit on the couch with. And so that's why like this song isn't about the holiday, it's about the everyday. It's about what happens afterwards. And I can't, my second question is this a happy song? Like, I can't quite tell.
I love that you asked this question because I have this question for my song too. We might ask it for every song today.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a happy song because on the one hand, I love that idea of like focusing on, I don't just want to be with you during the celebrations. I want to be picking up the bottle with you on the day after. And with dating, I often say, as I think I'm the only one that's single here. Hi. I find it really annoying that you have to like go out and get dressed up and like go and do all these things and date to find someone that you just want to be at home and sit on the couch with in your sweatpants. But I'm not going to meet someone sitting at home on my sweatpants. So I go out and do the things. It is a very cruel catch-22, which is a book that we should add to our book club. But that's what
to find somebody to lounge on the couch with.
But if someone's listening to this podcast lounging on the couch wants to hit me up, slide into our TikTok DMs. Anyway, my mother listens to this. So anyway, but that's what I think this song is about, right? This song is about, we focus on the holiday, on the party, or this song is partly about, we focus on the holiday, but I don't want to just think about the holiday. I want you, this person, on forevermore, right? She goes from, in the first verse, you and me from the night before, and then in the refrain, it's you and me forevermore.
I would argue that for her, in some ways, she is positioning New Year's Day as the holiday, that this is the thing we're celebrating, is this every day.
I see what you're saying. So you're saying that it's not that it's the holiday, it's that what is worth celebrating is the everyday, not just those special moments.
Yeah. I remember there was a really beautiful toast at a wedding I went to once where the like maid of honor said something like, may today be the day you love each other the least. Of like, this is a beautiful celebration, but like, I hope your everyday love grows more and more. And I think this song kind of has a little bit of that, like, hold on to the memories, hold on to you, I want your midnights, I'll stay when it's hard, like all of those things of like, yeah, there was a holiday yesterday, but today's the day I'm celebrating because this is the day we're doing this together.
My mom always used to say that like the thing that you do on the first day of the year is the thing that you will do all year long. So it's kind of like setting the path for the rest of the year. And so the hold on to the memories, they will hold on to you. Like even going through all the little things of don't read the last page. I want your midnights. Squeeze my hand 3 times, back the taxi. I can tell it's going to be a long road. I feel like this first few stanzas and verses like
No, you're
open
good.
up
They're stanzas.
and go into you start off with a lot of closes. It's like chapters closing, and then there's a lot of like openings and beginnings, and it's this idea of like, hold on to this and it'll hold on to you. It almost feels like a promise of
a promise, or is she asking? And that's where
both,
I go.
maybe both. Like maybe a wish.
And that's where my question around, is this a happy song, comes, because I also read a lot of anxiety in here. Don't read the last page. Like, I don't want this to end. I stay when you're lost and I'm scared and you're turning away. Like, even when shit gets hard, I'm still going to be here. So it's like she's saying she knows things that are going to get hard. And either, I guess you could read that one of two ways. Either you're anxious that things are going to get hard, or you just know that in a relationship that is forevermore, there are going to be hard times in addition to these celebratory times.
It kind of makes me feel like it's a more grown-up version of Enchanted, a little bit of please don't be in love with someone else.
Everything is a grown-up version of Enchanted.
It is the core. It is the center of the Taylor Swift universe, is Enchanted.
We can start with Enchanted, so
that's true. But she does say, please don't be in love with someone else. And here she's saying, please don't ever become a stranger. So it's kind it is the same style of request. It is interesting. I feel like it can go both ways. As someone who's been in a relationship for a long time, there's sometimes I think I would have listened to this song and thought the anxiety of like, oh gosh, please don't go wrong. And then there's times where it's like, it's going to. Like, if I'm actually going to be with this person, we'll have times where we look at each other and we're like, should we be together? I made a joke with some friends recently and I was like, who do you think out of all of us is most likely to get divorced? And they were all really horrified. And I was like, okay, well, you've been married 5 or less years, because I think the last few years, Chris, are like, well, I mean, we probably will be fine, but who knows? Like, the longer we're married, the more we're like, oh yeah, things will get real bad at times. We're much more casual about it now.
I like that we fall into like these tropes with every song, because I'm about to bring up a different kind of relationship again, which I do. I feel like every episode.
We've already been typecast.
Yeah, so like, spoiler alert, this makes me think of my friends. I think of like, I actually remember making this the caption for one of my New Year's Day photos, but it was like, for a little while, I'm from Atlanta and now I live in the Bay Area, and we would go home for New Year's, or the holiday. Like, you go home for the holidays, which is also something we'll discuss more later.
Oh, yes.
So I would celebrate New Year's with my old college friends. And there was like a time where I started to think, after like our second or third New Year's Day in Atlanta, part of me started like, you kind of get this realization that you're like of two worlds. I was like, how long will I keep going back to celebrate New Year's with these friends? Like, I can't celebrate New Year's and make more memories with new friends if I'm always going to be going back and holding on to like these old ones. So it's like kind of a bittersweet kind of moment to realize, like, I don't know, relationships change, you grow, like you're in two places. And I think that is what I was reading more from this song. Rather than anxiety, I was reading a little bit more of the bittersweetness of like that understanding that you need to hold on to the good things, because if you don't make that concerted effort, they will go away. Like, you have to make the effort to hold on, or else it won't stay there. So try to, I don't know, like, find a way to do that.
I think that's a really beautiful way to read this song. Like, I think that speaks really nicely to friendships, especially friendships from like high school or college, or, you know, times that are smaller parts of your life earlier on, as you're growing and developing. You want to hold on to both the memories and the people. So in the bridge, hold on to the memories, they will hold on to you. She repeats that line 3 times, and then the last line is, and I will hold on to you. So it's not just the memories that you want to hold on to, it's also the people. And there's something to be said about, you know, you mentioned, Monty, like going back to Atlanta to see family and friends. You often, as you get older, only really see old friends at moments of celebration, or when you get a lot older, maybe in funerals, but we won't get there.
Yeah, but you have to make an effort.
But you have to make an effort. Well, you have to make an effort even to go to those celebrations, but you have to make even more of an effort to be part of the everyday, to be part, like, I used to live in San Francisco, and I had only really been back when I get sent there for work. But then things are really busy, and, you know, it's not my own time. And I'm like, it takes a lot more effort for me to be like, no, I'm just going to pay money and go on my own time and take vacation to go see my friends.
Yeah, and
but it's important.
There's even lines like, please don't ever become a stranger. Well, how do you do that? Like, how do you make sure that you don't become a stranger? It's like, well, hold on to the memories. Like, you're going to have to hold on. And she's almost like asking, and if you hold on, then it'll be okay. And the memories will hold on to you.
I really like the friendship thing. And I think one of my favorite lines of this whole song is, I'll be there if you're the toast of the town, babe, or if you strike out and you're crawling home.
Can we talk about that for a hot second? I know it's not a deep dive. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think it's one of the most beautiful, just like any relationship you have, to like, that's a really beautiful thing to say to someone of, if you're really successful, I am there to toast you. If you strike out, I am there too.
It's basically
it's a really beautiful line.
It's basically saying for better or for worse.
Yes, it is.
Like that's essentially what she's saying.
Yeah, I love that interpretation of it's kind of like a toast or a vow. It does kind of read like that.
Yeah,
which
it does.
Kind of like when you think about this as the last song on Reputation, and then the album after this is Lover, where she has in the bridge the vows.
That's where I got confused.
It is a very nice transition when you consider this as, the transition song into the next album, the next era. We know, and we haven't done an episode on this, but we will, how she uses like the last songs on an album and the first songs on an album to be those transition points. Wow. Okay, so I still don't think this is, actually, it could or could not be a holiday song, and it could or could not be a happy song. So you've now changed my mind. When I came into this, I was like, this is not a holiday song, and it's also not a happy song. Now I'm like, okay, it's like a little stressful anxiety, but it's also like there is some nostalgia and like hope for the friendships and holding on to the friendships. So it's not unhappy, and it's not a holiday song.
It's also not happy, to your point, though. Like, I don't think it's happy. I think it's a different kind of complex feeling, which is why I really like the question for these, because I do think she really captures that.
You mean feelings aren't just black or white? They're not just happy and sad. They get more complex than that.
Let's go into layer 2 of our feelings.
Layer 2 might be our next song. Actually, our next song might be layer 7.
Well, one other thing I'll say on this song, and then my song is next, so I will keep talking into that though. But as additional evidence for all the points you are making, this past Friday was my last day at my full-time job, and in my goodbye party, one of my coworkers quoted this song to me as his goodbye, of saying, "Please don't ever be a stranger." And he specifically was like, "I'm quoting Taylor Swift. Please don't ever be a stranger." And I was like, "Oh, that was really nice." So it was very, very sweet.
Please listen to my podcast.
Yeah, it was very, very sweet. So it was a very bittersweet moment, very kind, but it wasn't a happy moment either. But it was a like, I've enjoyed this relationship, and I hope it doesn't go anywhere. So just additional evidence that was actively used in that moment. Okay, well, we can move on to my song if we are ready for that.
Let's do it.
Moving on. Let's see.
Whew. Let's get into this.
Am I going to ask the same 2 questions? Is it a holiday, and is it happy?
I already know my answers for them. So
great.
I chose Champagne Problems, which I am just now in this exact moment realizing I did not look up who wrote it. So I will...
Taylor Swift and William
Bowery.
That adds an interesting note to it. Interesting.
Hot take.
Okay.
I say everything's a hot take. It's not actually a hot take. I need a new phrase.
So it was on the album Evermore, which came out in 2021, and it is track 2. We can get into a lot more of it. I think the biggest reason why I consider this a holiday song is the line, "And soon they'll have the nerve to deck the halls that we once walked through." Decking the halls is a very holiday specific activity. And I have a hot take that it's not that sad of a song, but we can get into that in a moment.
We are going to get into that. I would also say it's not really, but bustling crowds or silent sleepers also made me think of holidays. Bustling crowds in the holidays, silent sleeper, I thought of Silent Night.
So I thought that was I thought about that too, because I think without the line "Deck the Halls," I don't know if I would have immediately gotten to a Christmas time environment, but she does still continue to build it throughout it with the like. She says, "How evergreen our group of friends."
November flush.
Mm-hmm.
So like November flush. So we know it's in November. Is it? And according to Monsi's definition, November is the holidays. According to my definition, the end of November is the holidays, and according to Jen's, it's squarely in the holidays. So it's a holiday song.
Champagne is very much a holiday drink. I
Very.
mean, yes,
Also Dom Perignon.
It's also very much a marriage proposal kind of drink, but it's definitely a holiday drink.
So Jen, that was the other element that I was going to point out for holidays. People propose around Christmas. It's
and Thanksgiving.
Not be on Instagram for the holidays to see that.
Yeah.
It's not original. Here's my hot take. Don't propose during the holidays. It's not original.
I have a really strong opinion about proposals.
Did you guys both get proposed to during the holidays now that I just said that?
No.
Okay, good.
So I think most forms of proposals will be good if they are a match for the other person. Like that is the most important thing. And I can see for some people, like if they really love Christmas, it could be kind of make sense for them. But I do think for the most part, Christmas proposals are kind of lazy. Quick shout out to my friend Ted, who just proposed, and I was kind of thinking he was going to wait until Christmas, and I know he listens, and I want to give him a public shout out. He did a great job, Ted. Your proposal was beautiful. It was perfect for the two of you, and kudos for not doing it at Christmas. You made the right decision.
If you did get proposed to at Christmas, we still
love you. It's so fine. I understand that it's convenient
if it made sense
your
for your relationship.
Well, and your family's together.
Well,
I mean,
I think, families being together is a really big one. I think people do the holidays because it's easy to gather a lot of love.
So here's why I didn't want to do champagne problems for this. It's because we could go in so many directions. Like we need, just like All Too Well 10-minute version, I need a full hour on champagne problems because of so many of these things. Let's keep going.
I think it's November, right? Like I kind of think it's Thanksgiving-ish because it says, to your point, soon you'll deck the halls. There is the mention of November.
Yeah.
And again, like a lot of proposals happen around Thanksgiving time too because families are gathered. So that does fit the bill.
So I don't think it's that sad of a song.
Okay,
and
tell
here's
me
my
why.
argument. Okay. I think it is sad for the other person. Getting rejected is hard. And I think any breakup is hard. Don't get me wrong. I am a sucker for the like starting over like trope. Like Under the Tuscan Sun is like one of my favorites. It's a total starting over. But I think because you get to the bridge or the very end of it. Oh my gosh, where was it? I think it is the bridge. Where she says, you'll find someone to like patch up your tapestry that I shred.
Yeah.
So it is sad in that there is a breakup. Breakups are always hard. I would argue marrying someone you're not in love with or being married to someone you're not in love with is sadder. And so I actually think the song is a melancholic celebration of bravery. She made one of the hardest decisions she could make, but it was the right one. And she is apologizing, saying, I'm sorry this is hard for you. But the end of this is they are both going to go over. They're going to start new lives, and he will find someone who wants to be with him. And that's actually a really much happier scenario. Yeah. So it is.
Which actually, I have a correction. You said this album came out in 2021. It came out in 2020, December 2020. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I had I think the deluxe version came out.
Which is, January 7th, because we had that conversation around.
Yes. Sorry. I was looking at the deluxe version.
You're good.
I do really like the term melancholic because I don't know if I would go so far as to say it's a happy song. I think, yes, you're right. I think it's a little bit of sadness now for an ultimately greater tomorrow.
I think it is the realization that because, okay, so the whole song paints a picture. All you have is a picture until you get to the bridge, and that's the only time you have an action. So you have this descriptions of taking the night train, this picture of the small injustices that illustrate the larger point that this is not a relationship that's going to last, without ever explicitly saying what is happening? I dropped your hand while dancing, left you out there standing, your mom's rings in your pocket, your heart was glass, I dropped it. Like the whole thing until you get to the end of the bridge or almost the end. Sometimes you just don't know the answer till someone's on their knees and asks you. Until that point, she is only alluding to what's happened and what the action is. And so then you have the action. And so I see this song as like that time where you have all these little small injustices and these moments, and it is only once you take the action of ending it that you really realize this is over. And this might be personal experience that I may or might not continue going into because this is for people to listen to, but this song resonates very, very deeply for me. So it is melancholy, yes. It is hard, yes. It is the right choice, yes. That doesn't in the moment make it easier to experience. And I just remembered my therapist also listens to this. So hi, we'll process this together after this episode comes out. But I still think it's an incredibly sad song because I think as you're going through this, it is incredibly sad. It will get better and it's definitely the right choice, but it's still this like really it's heartbreaking for everybody involved for different reasons, right? And I'm going to pause there because I'm talking a lot.
Yeah, I think it comes across as a decision that was not planned.
Right.
And there's several reasons why that's there, but the one that to me gets me is how evergreen our group of friends don't think we'll say that word again. It comes across as a realization, which is that like post breakup moment. Which, I mean, my biggest breakup was in college. I mean, it was a 4-year relationship. It was my high school sweetheart. So it wasn't nothing, but I certainly wasn't an adult and I wasn't planning it. And it was just a conversation. And I was like, I think we're breaking up.
Doesn't work. Yeah.
And so I'm projecting some of my own stuff into that too. It was really hard, but I don't think I wouldn't have considered those really sad moments. They were really deep and they were really intense. But it was so clearly to me the right decision that I didn't have a ton of like sadness. I would say melancholy, confusion, fear, but not necessarily sad.
Something can be the right decision and still a sad, hard decision.
Yeah.
Right? Think about leaving. I mean, whether it's a relationship or a job that you're leaving or moving, right? Like there are all these times in your life when you know it's time to go, right? You know it's the right thing. It's the hard thing, but it's the right thing.
Well, I also, the idea that this is potentially during the holidays that she's making this life decision. And I like that idea of there was no knowing which way it was going to go until the question is asked. Until
someone's on their knees and asks you.
But I think one theme that we also see is that the holidays is a time to be around family, be home. You're now seeing your entire life at a glance. Like sometimes there's something about going back to your childhood home or being in that different place. You almost take a pause from your everyday life. It's easy to get caught up in the everyday the rest of the year. You're busy, you're moving through the motions. The holidays is a time where you escape that and you get out of it for a second and you go back sometimes against your wishes. Like a lot of people don't want to go back in time, but it forces you to kind of go back sometimes and or just like see your entire life in perspective. And I wonder how much of that is also at play or like important to the context of the song.
I'm sure.
Being in that kind of environment, maybe that's a realization that, you know what, this isn't going to work out and you need to go back.
It's your family. You told your family, your sister splashed it on the bottle. Like it's, oh God, I don't have in-laws, so this won't be hard for me. But like when you go to your in-laws versus going into your own family for the holidays and you're like, oh, this isn't my family. Is this a place where I can feel like family?
Well, I was thinking how many chick flicks there are where like the girl goes to the guy's house or the guy goes to the girl's house and it's like the holidays. And then you have this like moment of realization that I don't fit in here.
I don't fit in. This is not
what I want.
But then you have How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days when she goes to Matthew McConaughey's family and she
fits in
beautifully when she's not trying to.
Those are the happy ones. But
yeah,
what a movie.
So I think my main takeaway with the song is I feel like she has so many songs that are like this, but I feel like even more than average, this is one of those songs that reveals something about you as a listener, because I think we just did this as a conversation, because to me it really doesn't
Yeah.
read as like a devastating song,
And to me it
but
is.
that's because it's reminding me of a moment that I wasn't super sad about. And if I sat and I related this to other moments where I like lost something and was sad, I probably would feel different. So I think it's one of those that like the more you sit with it and you think about like how you feel with it, you might start connecting of like, what are the connections I'm making? And I don't think any of those are wrong interpretations, because it's a specific story, but it's kind of a vague song in some ways. Like it feels almost allegoric in some ways. Like, as far as we know, she was never proposed to. So this isn't, it's an allegory for this kind of like, it's time to go feeling. And so it's open to interpretation.
I'm really excited to do this song again with a different topic, because I think we're going to get into the song from a different perspective. And that's why I'm like, I could go deep on this, but it's not about the holidays. So I'm going to pause there.
I do like the holiday take. I don't think I would have ever caught the holidayisms before. I've listened to this song 100 times and it has never struck me as a holiday song. And when you said you were going to do the song, I was like, what? That's interesting. But
so this is your Cornelia Street? This is exactly how I felt with Cornelia Street in autumn.
Okay, but there's a really obvious line in Cornelia Street. Okay,
deck the halls. This says deck the halls. So
yeah, it says soon you're gonna deck the halls. Like,
oh God.
I just like
we just had a Cornelia Street moment.
Like, okay, so I'll tell you how I read that lyric, because absolutely that lyric is there. And the way that I always used to read it is you propose in a big hall. It's like an event space or something. And it's like, this just becomes a mundane thing. Like today was a special occasion that today these halls were decorated just for me. Tomorrow they're just going to be decorated for the public.
I've never heard the phrase deck the halls outside of the holidays, so that's interesting.
No, deck the halls is 100% referring to the holidays.
But you saw it in a different context.
No. My interpretation is that represents like mundane public decorations, whereas maybe today it was for a proposal. So it was a contrast. It was like today it was for me. Tomorrow it's just going to be like a normal holiday decoration. Is kind of how I read that contrast in the past. But I mean, definitely with the November timing and like it just it makes a lot of sense. And I also think back to a lot of these like themes. The song that I'm going to do next is also kind of like a weird emotional kind of moment during the holidays. Back to December.
My tissues.
I'm like, Back to December is an incredible breakup song that is also like
very sad.
The breakup in December. Like it does feel like there's something that
she doesn't write happy holiday songs.
Yeah, like, well, that's not true.
We haven't Christmas Tree Farm.
Well, like we haven't gotten to the holiday album, but
but those aren't necessarily her songs. Like she didn't
or Christmas
write
Tree
those.
Farm.
Christmas Tree Farm is the only one that like she wrote.
Yeah, you're right. But I guess what I'm trying to say is like, yeah, there are a lot of relationship changes, or I feel like she examines the holiday in a very different way. If the holidays are all about cheers and toasts and friends and reunion, she really goes into a different side of the holidays, which maybe is a good segue for my song.
I think it's a great segue, and I also just think it makes sense, because if she just did your standard like happy, joyful holiday song, it wouldn't be a Taylor Swift song.
That's true. That's part of like artists' job, I guess, is to push the envelope and get us to think about ordinary things in different ways. And so my song, let me unveil the suspense, is 'Tis the Damn Season, which it's about a season. It's about the damn season. It's 'tis the season. It's like very clearly a holiday song from the title.
The title alone is so good though, because to take such a fun phrase like good. 'Tis the season and turn it to 'tis the damn season immediately.
Yes.
Immediately.
Says so much. And yes. I'm so excited for this.
Yeah. And to my point that I was just making, she chooses to focus on a very specific part of the holidays, a very specific feeling, which is that feeling of returning to your childhood home. It's like a thing that almost everybody does, or like returning to the neighborhood where you came from, returning to the hometown.
So I didn't really, okay, I don't even know if I want to say this now.
Wait, pause. Who wrote it? Where's the album?
Yes. It came out in 2020. It's a part of Folklore Evermore. And sorry.
The Evermore Police, guys.
Yeah. It's on Evermore. Came out in 2020. It's track 4, and it's written by Aaron Dessner and Taylor Swift.
Okay, Jody, have your feelings now. Floor is yours.
Thank you for my feelings moment. So, and I don't want to, I mean, this whole song is about, as you said, going home, returning to your
My
school
hometown.
friends, your hometown. So I went to high school not in my hometown. I went to private school like 30 minutes away. And so my friends, and it's also part boarding school. So my friends were all over the place. So whenever I came home for the holidays, I didn't have this feeling necessarily of returning to all my high school friends. I had some friends that lived in my town because I did theater in town and I grew up there. So like I definitely have had some friends.
Maybe like elementary school or middle school.
Elementary, middle school, but like my high school friends, most of them, the ones that I stayed in touch with were not, we didn't live in the same place. And so I remember every year you'd go home for like Thanksgiving in particular, and the night before Thanksgiving is always this like big happy hour at a local bar. And I never went, I never had that. So I find this, I love this song, but I personally don't have that experience of going home and returning and like walking around and seeing all the people that you went to high school with. My mom then moved from where I grew up. So now when I go to my mom's house, I don't know anybody. So it's very different.
So obviously people have so many different paths in life, and there were always people who moved around a lot also potentially.
But it still resonates. Like this, despite that, this song still resenates with me.
So maybe we can talk a little bit about why that might be. But I do think that...
Because she's a genius.
Well, yes. I'm going to try to get a little bit more advanced placement than that.
Okay, thank you for calling me out for my 8th grade interpretation of this song. Wow.
But I think you hit something like, which is it is kind of like a universal feeling. I think even if you didn't have that exact experience for the holidays, it is a common feeling that a lot of people have with the holidays. I think even if you didn't experience it yourself, you see it in a lot of holiday pop culture too. There's movies, shows, holiday episodes. Yeah, it's a trope. It's like you go home and you are in all kinds of feelings. Everybody's always really confused and in their feelings because you're like an adult in your childhood room, or like you're meeting people that you like have known your whole life.
Also, the holidays are hard, right? Like, and that's what I think is really interesting about all of the songs that we picked. Is that the holidays, like commercially, are this really like happy moment, but there are all these mixed, difficult feelings.
That's exactly what I love about the way that she writes holidays. Is I think she is like pushing us to think about it from the different angles. Let's examine the holidays from different angles that we might not normally get to do. And so there's a few different parts of this that I could go through. One thing that I did want to just talk about is how it kind of like one line that keeps repeating throughout the song, which is not particularly holiday-esque on its own. It's we can call it even.
Yeah, and what is that?
I played the song like 100 times thinking about that leading up to this, but I think it's this idea of so she talks about a road not taken, and I think that seeing as the holidays as an opportunity, like willingly or unwillingly, to be forced to re-examine those decisions. She is being forced to go back and drive down that same street. She's like, the road not taken looks real good now. And in this hometown, it's always going to lead to you. Like it always leads to you in this hometown, because there was that old relationship or there's old emotional connection that you can't get away from. I also get the feeling that this song is really about escaping a small town kind of feeling. It says at one point she'll go back to LA and the so-called friends who will write books if I ever make it. And wonder about the only soul who can tell which smiles I'm faking. So it's this idea of like somebody got away, and so like you have this opportunity to just kind of like re-examine old choices. And so I think for that reason, I think the angle that she's taking on this song specifically in the holidays is like the look back. Like, let's go back and look at your old choices. Let's reconsider. Like, you're in your feelings, but specifically because it forces you to peel the layers back and kind of question every potential decision that you've ever made in your life.
Which is basically what it's like going home to your childhood room.
Which is basically what it's like.
What did I do? How did I get here where I'm sitting in this twin size bed again thinking about this person that I probably went to high school with.
Yeah.
I also think it's a fun play on the trope, because the trope is so well known that like there's no way to create a song like this and not be thinking about this Christmas trope of going home for Christmas and falling in love. But she does go back to LA. She doesn't stay, which is often how those movies end, is like you rediscover the small town charm from your high school boyfriend and you stay, book recommendation. It reminded me a little bit of the book Book Lovers by Emily Henry.
I've got strong feelings about her books.
So this one, I've had mixed feelings about her other ones. This one I really loved because it takes like the trope of like a guy goes and meets a small town girl and like falls in love, and they always leave behind a hardworking city woman who's like cold-hearted and terrible.
It's the hardworking city woman.
So it's her point of view, and it's her love story, and it's a different love story. She's like forced through these tropes, but it doesn't fit her, and how she ends up finding someone that makes sense for her, which is what I thought was really fun about it. Is it took the trope, it took this like villain, because I have not loved everything else Emily Henry's written, but that one I thought it is cheesy, but it was such a fun take on this of not everyone has to stay in a small town. You can be a hardworking, successful woman and still find love or still find success. That's okay. It's okay to have all that, and you don't get that message a lot.
Yeah.
But to this song, she says, I won't ask you to wait if you don't ask me to stay, so I'll go back to LA. The so-called friends who will write books about me if I ever make it. She's also twisting this trope of, yes, there's this person, but she still has a career. She's still trying to make a name for herself, and she's not giving that up for this.
Yes, so that's actually, I didn't tie it back to the we should call it even, but that's kind of where I started. Like I started with like, what does that line mean? And then I went down this idea of like, she's getting away from the small town. Holidays make her look back on it. The fact that she can make it, go back to LA, and she can do that. Calling it even kind of feels like she's just like splitting. Like she's like, that was how I hurt you, and this is our opportunity for you to make it even for the weekend, like for the holiday. You can be mine for the weekend. It's this idea that like she has escaped. She's managed to escape the small town and get away, but on this weekend, just a small period of time in the year when she comes back, they can almost like they can split the difference and call it even, and just like.
So I wrote a note on that last line when they do we could all even though I'm leaving, I'll be yours for the weekend, 'tis the damn season. Like I'm just gonna read you my notes. Temporal, short-lived, there's an end. Things that describe this relationship and the holidays. So that's how I kind of brought this all together, right? That you're
escape.
I didn't say escape so much, but like the holiday season and having to go back to your childhood bed or your childhood home, it's temporary, it's short, it's not going to last forever. And that's the same thing with this relationship that she's talking about. You can call me babe for the weekend, right? Like you get this short amount of time. There's a start and there's an end, and we're both going to move on. It's the same thing with the holidays. Like the sad thing about the holidays is that that it's going to end, right? Like
it is a break from reality. Like it's just not normal. Yes. It's like it's
not your day to day.
Every day you have your every day, and then you have this holiday, and there's a start and a finish, and there's like it's a break. It's something different. One
other thing for the holiday that I think she does, and I know we're going to deep dive the song, so we don't have to get too much into this, but I think there's something she does with temperature that is really interesting here that I do think is relevant to the holidays, because we do associate December as a cold month for most of the US. And she talks about at the beginning, it's the kind of cold fogs up windshield glass, but I felt it when I passed you. And then she also talks about at the end, leaving the warmest bed I've ever known. And I think that's a really interesting play with temperature at that time of year too.
But also that means that the relationship between them changes, right? It starts out with coldness between the people because she feels that coldness from this other person, yet this person's also the warmest bed. Well, I assumed that it was the person in the bed that was the warmest bed.
Yeah. I think it's just one of those metaphor things again. She could have used any metaphor, but by writing a song about the holiday season and using temperature as the metaphors, it adds depth to it.
Also, the holidays linger like bad perfume. You can run, but only so far. Really tells you what she feels about the holidays.
Oh, I get it. I don't have the best feelings about the holidays.
Really?
It's like, yeah, it definitely does summarize it very honestly, I think, in a way, because everybody kind of gets it.
I love the this is where I think being Jewish is a real plus, because like I don't have to deal, like I don't have the whole soul associations for the Christmas time.
But
like, this is great.
I
can do whatever I want.
Maybe it's because you don't go. I mean, you do go back to your home.
I go home, but like I don't. It's not like honestly the Jewish holidays were always the time when my mom's gonna hate that I'm telling this. Like my parents would fight because we'd have to split like one night. I mean, luckily there's 2 nights of Rosh Hashanah, so you go one night to one family and one night to the other. But like there was always like a problem. But
like tensions are always high.
Tensions, because you're going to like the other family's house. But for Christmas, like I don't celebrate. Like we sometimes go to a friend's Christmas party, but like it's not. It didn't have to do with my family, and also like Hanukkah has 8 nights. You just pick a random night in December to celebrate it with the family, and like there's plenty of night. Like so, it doesn't.
Yeah, that does seem easier.
It's not stressful. That time of year is not
like
stressful. I didn't have to travel anywhere. My whole family's here anyway, but like I didn't have to get on a plane. So that pressure doesn't exist, and maybe that's why I'm very happy around.
But I also think even if you love it, like even if you really love it, like I love the holidays too. I think the fact that she captures is that they are multifaceted. You can really love something and associate it with cheer and a lot of happy things and still really understand what that line means, because it is kind of like this thing that you can't escape from, and it has positives and it has negatives. Like it is perfume, but it's not very good perfume, and like you can't escape. I think it's that duality.
I think taking it full circle here, actually, the holidays got harder for me once I got married. It's nothing against my in-laws, but suddenly juggling 2 sets of families and needs got logistically really challenging. And it goes the full circle. It kind of goes back to the New Year's Day, where one of my favorite parts of the holidays is just, Chris, I don't really do much for New Year's Eve. Usually we just hang out, and we hang out that day. And that's one of my favorite parts. Like, I love my family. I love seeing people. But like when it's this big celebration, I often just want to be with my chosen life partner and like relax and not be in the car constantly going between places. And this is a much larger conversation that we don't have time for on this podcast, but by choosing to be child free, we also tend to be kind of adhering to everyone else's schedules with kids, which is fine. And I totally get it. But it's one of those, it's a challenge every year of how do I prioritize like my love and my choice here in our families when there's just so much going on. And so then you get to New Year's Day and it's just chill and it's just us. And that's my favorite part every year.
I love that our sessions are like half analysis, half therapy, because I'm just also having this revelation that like part of the duality of holidays, I think, is the balancing, like maybe the joy and happy memories that you have as a child associated with holidays, and balancing that with the complexity and stress that comes with dealing with the holidays as an adult. Because I would totally agree. Like once you get married and you have multiple families to go to, it is such a process. If you're hosting everybody and you're like, we're just going to do it at our house, everybody come to us, then you're hosting.
Stressful too.
That's a lot of stress. I'm sure once the kids come into the picture and you have grandparents fighting over children, like that adds to the stress.
So basically, don't grow up. That's our never grow up. Let's bring in that song. But at the
same time, and Jody, you mentioned this earlier to talking about how like your expectations of New Year's never like lives up to what is done there. And I think there is something to that idea of like, you get so excited that time of year because you have this expectation. You're like, I have this feeling that is burnt into my brain from when we used to do crafts at school and we didn't get homework and we had the holiday.
We'd like sing songs in chorus and we'd have our concert and we'd get to dress up.
And then as an adult, you're like reconciling that with the reality of the holidays and
we
all.
We talk a lot about no school. Like we talked about this in our fall episode that like, you know, we're school, that like how school created these moments in our lives and has set the perception of certain things like fall. it also sets the perception of the holidays, right? The holidays, you have time off.
Yeah.
Like until you're out of, like in college, we had like a month off.
But
you get time off. That doesn't happen as an adult
and
unless you're a
feeling
teacher.
you get after finals, like the feeling that you get after finals, the euphoria. Like I don't think you feel that kind of rush.
I think I just had the vision I had in my head was just Harry Potter, like the Harry Potter Christmas scenes.
Yeah.
That is the joy, right? Like that is the epitome of the holiday joy and spirit to me. And I think it's very fitting that's a scene in a school, right? Those are children. That's
Harry didn't really have a family to go back to either. So it was
so maybe these songs are Harry Potter's Christmas holiday songs, because they're all melancholic, where he's like so excited to have friends that he loves in the school that he loves, but he doesn't have a family, and so there's just this duality. I haven't thought about this at all. Can you tell?
So much more we can say about this.
Is this the AP analysis you were looking for, Monty? Should I bring it?
We're getting there. I was like, there's so much more we could do with this song and the actual deep dive.
Why we're deep diving.
Yeah, because we're deep diving it. I did want to just ask the one thing that it was unplanned, but we've been asking this for all of the songs on today's episode, which is this a happy song? Because there is warmth in that bed and all roads lead back. To me, like, it's not a sad song, but it's not a happy song either. It's to me, it's like
a song that requires a lot of alcohol, like a glass of wine.
I don't know. It's the road's not taken, and I feel like we kind of talked about this in the fall episode. It is melancholic, and we talked about this in the fall episode too,
which are not happy feelings.
But like certain times of the year bring out certain things in you, and I think the holidays are one of those where you like you were saying, you kind of pause and you question your decisions, and you can say, "I'm very happy with the decisions I made." But what if? And like you can't. This feels like a what if song to me.
And this is and I think
this is getting into the deep dive.
But I don't getting into the deep dive.
But I don't think what if is necessarily sad. But I don't think it's either happy either. It's anytime you ask what if, I would argue it can go a lot of different ways emotionally. But anytime you ask that question, you are setting yourself up for a lot of feelings, whatever they may
therapy
be.
Session.
You had used the word melancholic earlier. Like, I feel like it's a deep longing / resignation / wistfulness, like a few of those kind of feelings.
Those are
but
not happy feelings.
No, but
they don't have to be sad either.
They're not sad either. Yeah, like
remember when everything was just happy and sad?
If we're on
there's that chart when you go into the hospital that's like 5 different. From a happy to a frown.
To take it to an AP level, if there's an x-axis and a y-axis, this is the z-axis. Like we're going.
Have you ever seen Disney Pixar's Inside Out? I feel like that would really help you process the range of emotions someone could feel.
Guys, it's late right now, and as I said, I don't do well late at night. I turn into a pumpkin at like 9. So you're getting what you get from me right now.
These were our 3 holiday songs. I feel like we can probably
happy holidays, y'all.
Tie a bow on it. And yeah, tune in for the deep dive.
I always